Hello, hello. Hello, folks. David Molnar here, your photography mentor, joined with the one, the only, the fancy, the bearded, the
beautiful
Outer Bankser, Rich Coleman.
Hello, hello.
Good to see you today. Good to see your...
Good to see you, too. Through the computer, like I'm seeing everybody else in the world these
Right,
days.
exactly. Yeah, even my family are doing Zoom calls. It's kind of crazy. All the crazy quarantine stuff going on.
Do you know how crazy I've been, David?
How crazy?
I made a project for everybody. So for those of you listening, I'm sorry. Maybe we'll make this the video for the picture for the video, but I did a project. That's how lonely I've been these last couple of days. It's felt like years, but I made a project.
For those of you guys who cannot see, what is that, Rich?
This is my rendition of Wilson from Castaway. I have talked to him in my office more than once, but I felt like I did a pretty bang-up job. That's red paint, not blood. I did not cut myself.
That's a perfect volleyball rendition of Wilson that you have. I didn't know that you had that. It's amazing.
Wilson? I've had it on my desk for 3 days, and I've been saving it for the podcast.
For this moment.
So it's been really hard not to show you, as it's been on my desk staring at me. And it's pretty funny. Like, I'll catch myself looking at it. And I talk to myself all day anyway. Like, that's like the creative like juices coming out. So I'm talking, I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, my buddy Wilson. So as quarantine goes on, it'll start to look more old. I'll put some like beach stuff in there to make it look more like Wilson. So hopefully he doesn't get lost at sea. Spoiler alert. But that's my Wilson.
Oh, that's awesome. That's amazing. I have a question for you, Rich.
Ooh, I'm ready.
There was a guy that was just admitted to the hospital. A lot of that's happening. But he was admitted to the hospital because he had 8 plastic horses in his stomach. Do you know what his condition was? It's stable.
Good. I was like 8 horse. He ate. I don't know.
Yeah. Whatever. Okay.
Pretty good. That's normal. Yeah.
Moving on. Hey, you've been riding your bike a bunch, right? Is that what I
heard?
heard?
And I will say I've been like, not that there's anything wrong with this, but I do rock a ladies beach cruiser. And I think it's a hair too small, so like I have to like pick my handlebars up. But I mean, when I say I'm riding my bike, I'm doing miles of like uphill travel. So my legs and thighs are not used to that. But it's been great. That's like kind of like because you're at home all day with your family, and I love them, and they're like they're over there in my house. This is detached, so I can be loud and not get in trouble. But sometimes you got to have that alone time and like that clear your headspace. And biking has definitely been that for me since all the gyms are shut down. And truth be told, David, I was breaking the law for a minute. My friend owns a gym, and when the stay-at-home stuff was happening, still a criminal.
Once a criminal, always a criminal.
I didn't steal anything, but I did. I was going into the gym at like 5 o'clock in the morning and working out. But he was like, "Don't turn on the lights." So there was nobody in there with me, no chance of cross-contamination. Everything was clean, and I was cleaning. But I would be running on a treadmill at 5 o'clock in the morning in pitch black, or like using my phone flashlight to pick up weights. So I'm no longer doing that. I work out like right here behind me. Maybe that'll be next week. It'll just be like an hour of me just working out in the background.
I love it. Alana asked the question, Rich, are you getting in shape to trek the fjords of Norway? So sad.
Next week, man. Next week is supposed to leave.
So sad. We're supposed to go to Norway next week, and there's no way that's happening at this point. So we'll have to fjord to new times, something like that.
To look fjord to it later.
Yeah. Ooh, well done.
So we're rescheduling our trip to Norway. That was supposed to be next week. Talking to airlines right now is a real. If you want to have fun in some customer service land, just call an airline and try to get somebody on the phone. That's been really, really fun.
Yeah. I wish all customer service was like our customer experience team, you know?
Yeah.
I think
you can't. There's only one Autumn and Crystal.
Yeah.
You know, and Caroline, and like there's only one of them, and they're like they're very rare flowers as far as.
And Christine, yeah,
putting up
they're awesome. Like They make more people happy than I think we do with our courses and presets. Someone asked a minute ago if you have some more presets coming out. Yeah, Joan asked, Rich, do you have more presets dropping soon? Yeah, because each month we have new preset packs that members get for free inside the photo mentorship, and you've been making some.
What we're doing right now is we're dropping 3 a week right now, man. 3 preset packs a week.
Well, it's a great time to learn to edit, right? Because a lot of people are stuck at home or stuck inside.
Stuck at home.
Right. So that's why we have courses.
And since you're stuck at home, why don't you share this video for us?
Yes.
And somebody that shares this video will win a prize. David, I'm going to let you pick because I have so many goodies right here.
We're going to do a giveaway, and the only criteria is to share this video.
Everything comes from B&H Photo. No, that's mine. You're not.
Oh.
You're not getting that.
We got to get a Your Photography Mentor podcast thing. So what's that? Impact? Is that a reflector?
This is an Impact 5-in-1 reflector system. So reflector and diffusion.
Okay.
We have the backpack. We got a bunch of backpacks last month, so I asked for more. I hear an ambulance.
Someone's breaking the quarantine rules, I guess. Dude,
this is a huge backpack.
Speaking of like burning the Constitution, they're like crazy cracking down in so many different places about making sure people are staying quarantined, and they're telling people to like spy on their neighbors and all sorts of crazy stuff in California. It's nuts, man. I saw a thing recently that said it was a Babylon Bee, which is like my favorite satire site. It showed a picture of the Constitution laying in a hospital bed, and it was like, Constitution dies of coronavirus. And I was like, oh my gosh, if only that was true. If only that was actually satire. It's freaking ridiculous what's happening right now.
Satire, not true, because you don't want that to be true.
Yeah, no, I don't want that to be true. I'm saying it's so sad that that's not actually satire. It's like, what's happening right now? They're freaking destroying our Constitution. It's unbelievable. Like, yeah, it's a real virus, but like, my gosh, man. Stripping freedom.
Well, you know what gets me over that virus?
What's that?
Free stuff.
Free stuff.
So we have
what are options again?
The reflector, the backpack, or I have so many tripods here, David. I have 6 tripods here. I really, this company mailed me and David a tripod, and this is now the tripod that I use personally. And David has one in his car, I bet.
I haven't used it yet. I've been so quarantined. I haven't
This is it in a box.
Yes, I have that.
This is a heavy duty. This is an awesome tripod, man.
Yeah.
So let's do that. Let's give away this tripod right here. I'm touching it, but don't worry, people. I over hand sanitize to the point of where I bleed. So we're going to give away this tripod. So our team is going to pick somebody randomly who shares this video so we can help out more photographers. So all we care about is helping out more photographers. And every time we go live, whether it's this on Tuesdays, whether it's us going live on the photo mentorship, or when we randomly go live on a Friday, we always give something away.
Always, man.
Boom. Free stuff.
Yep. So all you have to do in order to be eligible to win this giveaway is just share this. If you're on live right now, just share this video. Just share the Facebook video. And then we'll pick a random person who shares it, and we will give away that tripod. So
let's pick a random awesome person, because if they're going to share it, I would say they're awesome. So less random and more they just love us or me.
When I say random, I mean we are going to randomly pick someone who has shared this video.
It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to put toilet paper in here, though. Like last week, we gave toilet paper in backpacks. So
you could try.
I don't know. I could try. I could put a Tide Pod with the tripod.
It's worth a try. It looks like tons of people are sharing. So, well, hey, you know what? So a couple weeks ago, before the world ended, we were talking about doing a series on the 3 photography superpowers. Did I call them the 3 photography superpowers? That's what I've been calling them lately. It was so many weeks ago when we talked about this. I'm like, I can't remember exactly what we said.
Hey, just so everybody knows, today is Tuesday. I have a hard time with that as of late. It's Tuesday. In case anybody's wondering, today is Tuesday.
Oh, dude, I saw the internet wins, man. It's been so amazing. But it's like, in case anyone's lost track of time, it's March 97th or something like that.
Yeah.
I saw that the other day. I was like, oh, it's Blur's Day, March 97th. I'm like, oh my gosh, so funny. Well, we talked about doing a kind of going a little bit more in depth about the 3 photography superpowers. And the first one is learning how to see like a photographer. and we kind of delayed that a little teeny bit to talk about the craziness that's going on with the COVID-19 and the quarantines and the stripping our constitutional rights and all sorts of stuff like that. But yeah, and if you guys didn't hear us, there is several ways that you as a freelancer, a gig worker, can receive grants that you don't have to pay back to the government. And so if you go to our recent blog post on davidmona.com, if you want to learn more about that, I made videos even showing you how to fill out the grants. And you can basically get 10 grand. The easiest thing you can do is get 10 grand if you're a freelancer, a gig worker, photographer, any of those things. You can get 10 grand. So go check out davidmona.com, and I specifically talk about how the government will give you a grant that you do not have to pay back under any circumstances, and that will be auto-deposited into your account. As of today, Tuesday, April 7th, I have not gotten that money deposited into my account. I don't know anyone who has, but I believe they will start getting deposited from the SBA very soon. So go check out davidmona.com, the most recent blog article on there, and you can find out more information. So we kind of took a break from talking about the C, the three photography superpowers, because we need to talk about some more urgent things like how you can get some money from the government to help survive and pay your bills. But I wanted to kind of go back there. Hopefully that's okay. So we wanted to talk today about seeing like a photographer. So when I talk about the three photography superpowers, let me 1 second here. I want to kind of give it in context, because we're going to talk about this in the next few weeks. Okay. The three photography superpowers are, as I see it, learning how to see, shoot, and edit like a professional. Okay. And what I don't mean is that you have to be a professional to do this. It's having the skills and the experience and the knowledge to be able to function or shoot and edit and see photos or potential photos like a professional does, or like an amazing world-class photographer does. That's how you actually create those stunning images. And so we can talk about shooting and editing in the following weeks, but today we're going to talk about seeing, okay? Seeing like a photographer. And, Rich, you can maybe tell me what you think about this, but when I think about seeing, what's that? Here, let me say this.
Go ahead. You're going.
You can add your 8 cents. You need to learn how to see the future and envision powerful images before you ever shoot them. Okay, so this is a superpower. And how many of you guys have ever, once you started to take pictures, all of a sudden you started to think in terms of pictures? So you look around and you no longer see what's in front of you. You start thinking about how would that look if it was a photograph, right? Once you start going down that path, like I tell people, they're like, how do you see that that's coming, that would be a good picture? And I'm like, it's because I've trained my mind to try to identify what it is that I'm looking at and how it could translate into a beautiful photograph, and more specifically, how it could become a powerful story. Okay, so in order to learn how to see, you need to learn the composition and framing and storytelling techniques that transform your photograph from simply a snapshot, like so many people just do. All right, and turn it into a powerful story that deeply moves your viewers to experience a specific emotion or set of emotions that you, as the photographer, want them to experience. Rich summed it up beautifully earlier before we had gotten on this call, and I was like, what does seeing like a photographer mean to you, Rich? What do you think?
Everything you just said, but a good analogy would be imagine when we're allowed to get back together with people and you're mingling in your backyard at a barbecue. What makes that a party is the music. So without seeing like a photographer, it's like a room full of people without the music. Seeing like a photographer might be the most important power, I'll say. I don't know if you agree with that, but I think it is, because I walk around life seeing like a photographer because I've been doing it so long. I'm always looking at lighting to see how the light's hitting my hand. You can even see it change as I spin in my chair. And as I'm driving down the road, I'm like, how many times are you in your car and you're like, man, I wish I had my camera in my car. It's I feel like every time I don't have a camera in my car is I wish I had my camera in the car. So what you're doing, like David said, is you're making your pictures not a snapshot. You're starting to think about what makes that picture not boring? Because I will say, if you are just out there taking pictures and you're not thinking about the first superpower, you're just taking snapshots. And it's a very learnable skill. So like, don't be discouraged that like, man, my pictures aren't as good as my neighbor's who takes pictures. He's just seeing like a photographer more than you are. You just need to try this first step, and it's teachable. It's easy and it's fun once you start getting excited, because when you see like a photographer and you shoot like a photographer and you edit like a photographer, all those formulas come together. I don't ever take a picture where I'm not thinking about me editing it later. So the first step is the most important step because it's the one right in front of you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of being able to, I like to think of it as seeing the future, or like fortune telling almost, like you're looking at a scene and you're thinking, how could this translate to create the emotions that I want to create? How could this, tell the story that I want it to tell? So where this differs from, I like how you said this is one of the most powerful superpowers or things that a photographer can do, is learning how to see like a photographer. Several students said, like, my mom doesn't understand how I do that. It's because like she hasn't trained herself or her brain or her mind to think in those terms. And the cool thing is like once you start thinking in those terms, for me at least, it hasn't ever gone away. I think I've been thinking like a photographer for, gosh, man, almost 20 years. I started when I was, 3 years old. Now that I'm only 24, I started when I was, 3 years old. Anyways, but here's an example. Learning to master your camera specifically, and learning how to shoot in manual mode, like taking it off of, that auto mode and switching it over to manual is super.
Auto is
the devil. Auto's the devil.
Auto's the devil.
So that's super important. What that does is that allows you to capture what you're intending to capture. The correct brightness, the right focus, the depth of field, which is the amount of distance in focus. It allows you to show motion in your images if you want the bike rider and the image to look blurred, or if you want the waterfall to have flowing water versus like the action being frozen. Like I saw an eagle when I was riding my bike to work this morning, and I was like, oh my gosh, and he was soaring. I saw an eagle again today. It's amazing. Kind of I guess a blessing, everyone being stuck in their house. It's like the pets or the wildlife is coming out more into areas that they don't typically go. But anyways, if you wanted to freeze the motion of the eagle soaring, you're going to want to shoot it at a fast shutter speed. So understanding how to manually control your camera is so important, and you need to get off that stupid green thing right here. That green should really be red. I wish it was red. We should petition for Canon, Nikon, Sony to change that to be red, meaning like stop, drop that sound. Sorry. It's like stop, don't shoot in automatic mode. But here's the thing. Like Rich said, stop. Like Rich was saying, shooting or learning how to see like a photographer is arguably, I'd say similar in importance, but arguably more important to be able to see like a photographer than just to be able to shoot your camera in manual mode. Because then you could be like, a scientist and be like, well, I took a correct exposure. Okay, sorry, I'm not trying to insult anyone. Okay, you could take
there's
a correct
a lot
exposure.
Of those.
Yeah, you could take a correct exposure. Like the guy, like there's a lot of guys that get super like into the tech and the specs of cameras and all that stuff. I'm like, yeah, but your pictures suck. Like it doesn't matter that you have an amazing camera because you don't know how to see like a photographer. So just because you can get the exact exposure, which is brightness that you want, just because you can get the exact depth of field, which is the amount of space in focus, like just because you do these things technically correct does not mean that you are taking a good photo. Because if you haven't learned to see like a photographer and tell a really good story, then your photo isn't going to evoke emotion, which is the whole point. So seeing like a photographer is so important. And I have a story I want to tell, but Rich, you're raising your hand.
Yeah, that's because I get scared. You're the boss. I just work for you. With unemployment at its all-time high, I'm just doing everything I can to stay in your good graces. So the reason I think this is the most important superpower is, David, with this setup, it's like a top of the, oh gosh, that's my fire word. We have a code word for when I get fired, and David just used it live on the air. This is a great lens, a great camera, but when I take a picture right here like this, David, what's the most important part of the whole setup? It's my brain. It has nothing to do with this.
Trick question. I'm like, I don't know. I'm freaking out. Going back to third grade where I'm getting tested in front of the whole class again.
The most important part of this whole setup isn't how good my camera, my lens, my gear, my tools are. A photographer is the most important part, and that's because you see like a photographer. Yes. And that's why this is so freaking important.
Yep. I 100% agree. Those, what do they say, 8 inches or 10 inch, whatever it is, behind your lens are the most important, okay? And that's what we're talking about, is learning how to see like a photographer. I want to tell you a story. When I was, when I was 21, I did know how to technically manually control my camera. I was shooting in manual mode, okay? So I was 21, 14 and a half years ago. And I got thrown onto photo shoots with some amazing photographers who were photographing people like Taylor Swift and Carrie Underwood and Garth Brooks and Tim McGraw and Christian artists like whoever you name the Christian artist, Amy Grant to Mercy Me to whoever. And I'm the little assistant at this point, okay? Michael W. Smith in Colorado mountains, whatever. So, and I'm the little assistant on this shoot. I remember thinking like I was a pretty good photographer because I could shoot in manual mode and I could get the correct brightness that I wanted to, which is important. Don't get me wrong, it's super important. We talk about that a ton. That's what I talk about in that course, Master Your Camera. So important. We'll talk about that a lot next week, okay? Or I believe at least in the next time when we're talking about how to shoot like a professional photographer. Unless we have to have another emergency COVID, podcast or something. But I could shoot technically correct at this point when I'm 21. And I got thrown on these photo shoots where I was the little assistant, basically being the grunt, carrying sandbags, setting up lights and, moving C-stands and all sorts of stuff, right? And I remember a couple of specific instances. I got thrown on photo shoots with guys like Michael Gomez, who is a photography hero of mine and mentor of mine in Franklin, Tennessee. He runs Westlight Studios now, which is a photo studio that I would use most often and host workshops at. I got thrown on photo shoots with like Russ Harrington, who's an amazing photographer. And I also got thrown on photo shoots with Jeremy Cowart, who to Rich and I, we were like, oh, especially back in the day. I love Jeremy. He's a dear friend of mine now.
Do you remember the story where I met him? Do you remember that? Like how you did that, like nonchalant?
Yes. Let's tell that in a minute.
That might be funny to, yeah.
Or we should tell that story. That'd be fun. But hold on. So I got thrown on these photo shoots with Jeremy Cowart, who is this amazing world-class photographer. At the time, I think in 12, 13 years ago, whatever it was, he was named the world's most influential photographer online. Incredible guy, incredible heart for humanity. He's a believer. He loves Jesus like I do. And so we connected really well, but he's just like an incredible photographer, shot from the Kardashians to all these different things, from movie posters, album covers, Taylor Swift, like whatever, like all this stuff. And I'm on this photo shoot with him, and he's amazing. And I remember thinking, like, I know how to technically do my camera, but he would do things. He would see these scenes ahead of time, and I'm like, I'm setting up the lights, and I'm like, he's changing, he's tweaking the background or getting on his stomach at some weird twisted angle and shooting with a wide angle lens with a subject. I'm like, oh, that's going to stretch them out. It's not going to really look that flattering. Like, why would he be shooting at those settings? Blah, blah, blah. And I remember thinking, like, gosh, man, I know how to manually take a picture, and this one's not going to look good. And then all of a sudden, like, I would see the images popping up on his, because if he was tethering with a tether tool's cable or something to the to his laptop or just on the back of his camera, the images that were popping up, I was like, holy crap! Like, those are amazing, mind-blowing. The images that would pop up on the back of the screen, now granted, this is 14, 15 years ago, at the time, this is some of my first introduction to professional quality images where it's happening right in front of me. Album covers, billboards, magazine covers, whatever, advertising campaigns. This is during the first time that I'm exposed to this stuff. The images that were popping up in the back of his camera were astounding to me. And one of the things that Jeremy would tell me is like, I'm not necessarily the most technical photographer in the world. He's really good now, but back then I don't even think he was super technical. It was the way that he would see it in the future. Now, he had a graphic design background. He had Like he had some design stuff. So he was able to compose and use composition and framing and storytelling to create images that were so striking and so powerful that it made me like ashamed for what I was thinking the image was going to turn out. So basically it was like, I'm thinking, okay, well, you just want to make sure you get your camera settings correct and take a good photo. And he was going so many levels beyond that, of like taking images that were so stunning on the back of the camera without any editing, because of the way that he was able to see like Jeremy Cowart, or professional photographer. And so those early experiences of watching him look at a scene that looked super bland and then being able to do what we're going to talk about to create a story. I'm going to give you some practical techniques for how he did this, how I do this, and how other photographers can do this to see like a photographer and to tell a powerful story, because that's what it's all about, folks. That was some of the most early formative experiences where I was watching a master tell a story with a photograph, and it blew my mind. I realized that seeing like a photographer, like Rich Coleman brilliantly said a few minutes ago, is arguably more important than just the technical side. Because when you can see like a photographer, you can take amazing photos with your iPhone, even when it's a 2-year-old outdated one like this. I might get a new one in this week so I can film a new iPhone photography course, by the way. But anyways, it doesn't matter if you have a really old camera that's, 40 years old like this one, or you have an outdated one that's 3 years old, 3 or 4 years old like this one. It doesn't matter, because if you can see like a photographer, okay, you can envision what's going to come out, and you can actually take the steps that we're about to talk about in this podcast. Then you can take world-class images, okay? It has a lot more to do with than just the technical side. That's why Rich was saying that it's so much more important what is behind the lens, okay? This area right here, this 10, 12 inches, whatever it is, so much more important than just simply being able to technically take a correct exposure, okay? Rich, you were raising your hand, or you wanted to add something a minute ago? What were you going to say?
No, I agree with you, but I was just going to tell the Jeremy Cowart story that I had. So I'm helping you at a shoot at Westlight, meeting a lot of people like Bean and Gomez and all like the I call it like the Hollywood of photographers is Nashville. Is that fair to say? There's just so many great photographers so I'm helping out David at a studio, and he just like awkwardly asked me and my friend Ryan to go to this building behind his building. And he knocks on this little teeny door, and like out pops Jeremy Cowart. And like my friend Ryan was with me, and he just like starts tapping me on the shoulder, like, "Do you know who that is?" Like it was like our fan moment. Like photographers know who he is. I told my dad I met Jeremy Cowart, and he was like, "What?" Right. Like it was just really funny. It was just really cool.
Yeah, in context,
he's an artist.
Yeah, he's a super artist. He founded an organization, a nonprofit organization called Help Portrait, which is amazing. Mm-hmm. People all around the world would do these things at the first weekend in December and give away their time and give away portraits to people who needed stuff. He's done all these different humanitarian things, written different books. Really amazing photographer. If you've never checked him out, check out jeremycowart.com. Good friend of mine, but also like I'm a fan of his. So like full on unashamedly a fan of his. He's awesome. And so he's like the photographer's photographer, especially a decade ago. Whereas photographers who are just coming on the market, they may not, or like kind of just starting their journey, they may not have heard of Jeremy as much, because he was like such a big deal about a decade ago. That moment where you're saying, "Oh my gosh, it's Jeremy Cowart!" It's like he's like the photographer's photographer, and the whole world at the time wanted to meet him. So it was pretty cool. That was a fun moment.
I'm so bummed I didn't get a picture of him. I was like so mad because I'm like that guy. Like I have a famous wall, and I was like, man, I wish I would have like been a nerd and been like, "Hey Jeremy, let me get my picture with you."
Oh, that's awesome. Well, I mean, we could have Jeremy on the podcast. We could just interview him. He's a dear friend of mine. And
I'm game.
Wonderful human being. I bet he has time right now, or maybe I don't know. Maybe he's busier than ever. He's actually doing a really cool project right now where I don't even know the full extent of it, but he's taking portraits of people at their homes remotely, like through a Zoom call or something. I'm not really sure, but he's always got some kind of cool creative thing. He's definitely an artist. But I want to talk into the power. I want to talk about the steps that you can take to tell a powerful story. Now, these are very simple foundational steps, and there's so many more layers that you could do that might be hard to describe just in an audible form. Like we could show so many different things, and that's the type of thing that I love about TPM, which is the Photo Mentorship, which is our monthly membership program where students get to stream unlimited access to all of our courses, all of our mini tutorials, all of our How I Got the Shot episodes, and then also we do live trainings every Wednesday at 11 a.m. So tomorrow we'll be doing a live training, and this month we're doing the editing boot camp, which is awesome. So we're teaching people how to edit and doing it live and answering their questions. And that's the type of thing we do at thephotomentorship.com. So if you're interested, go check out thephotomentorship.com. But I love how that's more of a visual medium because we can actually show you guys, exactly what we're doing step by step, whether we're on location or whether we're editing live in real time. That's not necessarily just the audio version. We can actually show you the visual side of it too. But I want to talk about how you can tell a great or powerful story, just some foundational, really helpful, really easy things that you can do and learn even on an audio podcast, okay? So how do you tell a great story? So here's the thing, the other day, so for instance, this is actually really great. So today I was riding my bike to work. I like to ride my bike. I have an office where I'm the only person in the office, and it's pretty close to my house, so I'm doing my social distancing. There's no one in here, right? So, but anyways, I'm riding my bike, and I'm riding across a bridge of this amazing lake. There's all these dune lakes around here, and it's really beautiful. And I see an eagle circling. I'm I get off. I turn off my podcast because I'm listening to a podcast. And try to park my bike, and it falls 3 times while I'm trying to kick the kickstand up. And there's this moment disappearing because it's a freaking eagle, right? And eagles are really rare to see in person. I know some people see them more than others, but for me, I still get really excited about it. Okay, and then it was the eagle was flying, and I'm I'm trying to get my phone out, and so I take a picture, and he's so far away, and then he just disappears. That was the moment. It was gone, it was so quick and it was just gone. And all I had on me at the time was my iPhone because I didn't have my camera in my bike or on my bike with me. I have cameras at the office, but I didn't have one on my bike. And so I just took a snapshot of it, and honestly, the picture kind of sucks. It's just a little blip, far away. But the thing is now I have that moment preserved. Okay, it's not a good photo. It's not zoomed in. There's nothing good about it. But I was able to text it to one of my buddies who loves eagles and be like, "Dude, I saw an eagle this morning. Here's a picture of it." He's like, "Man, it's so awesome that you got to see that." It's a moment for me. I was documenting the history that disappeared. That moment was gone within seconds. Okay, it wasn't there. Okay, so the first step to telling a great story is to immediately document the history, to create a snapshot. Now, in the end, we don't want to create snapshots. We want to create powerful stories. But how many of you guys know often, more often than not, moments are fleeting, right? They disappear. That eagle this morning, I got to take a snapshot. He was really small in my frame. It's on my iPhone, but I have that moment in history documented. I know that I saw an eagle, and I have proof that I did. The picture sucks, but I documented that history. And then unfortunately, because if I had waited to try to go back to my house to get my camera, or if I had, if I had spent too much time trying to switch to a different, app on my iPhone, whatever it was, if I tried to reposition and tell about it, all these different things, I would have missed the moment entirely. Can I get an amen? Anyone?
Amen.
Yeah, Michelle said, immortalizing a life moment is so powerful. Yeah.
And even on professional shoots, it can be the same thing. When I'm at a wedding, people can look at a picture and tell if it's BS or not. I don't care how good you are. If I put a picture of a bride and groom together and it's stiff and boring, I call it, I'm sorry if this offends anybody, I call it grandma photography. People can tell grandma photography. So it's my job to capture moments in a timeless way. I want to take timeless photos so that picture that I took at somebody's wedding goes behind their sofa and lasts longer than a year or till they have kids. I want to take a picture of a piece of art that they hang up forever. And that's what I do when I take these wedding pictures. That's my job. I'm capturing these real moments together.
Yeah.
And they can tell, like, number one, how many times do people love the photo you took that you didn't even like because it's like, oh, that's grandpa's face when he was smiling, and like, it's like not the most technical photo, but you're capturing this moment forever. And how important are those moments, like when we lose somebody? Like,
Yeah.
pictures of my mom are like gold to me because I don't have many. So it is super important, and time is fleeting, and documentation is super crucial. I agree.
It really is, yeah. So document that moment just so you have proof that it happened is really important. But here's the thing. If you have time, you go on to the next storytelling steps. Because unfortunately, I did not have time this morning to tell a better story, right? But the reason I say to document the story and not go to these next steps until you've documented the history, documented the moment, is because you don't know if the moment is going to leave right then. Okay, I'm not advocating that you should try to create snapshots that suck. I'm advocating to document the history because we're shooting digital. It's free, essentially, to snap a photo. So document that picture for a second. Okay, get a snapshot. Which, when I say snapshot versus like a powerful professional image, two different things. Snapshots suck, but they're proof, essentially, okay? And then a powerful image is a professional image that's well crafted, okay? So how do we go to the next step? Well, so, step one is to immediately document the history. And then you want to start thinking about what would tell a great story. This is where the seeing like a photographer comes in, okay? And now this just pertains to the storytelling side of it. And there's so many different rules of composition and framing and all sorts of things that you could essentially apply in this step, because this step can be infinitely complex and there's not necessarily a right or a wrong answer. But here's the thing. You want to start thinking like a photographer. And what does a great professional photographer do? They identify, this is step number two, they identify what are the essential storytelling elements in this scene, okay? And then they want to essentially start repositioning to capture what those essential storytelling elements are. Now, I didn't have time to do this because the eagle was there soaring and then flew away within a few seconds. So I didn't have time to reposition or really compose a great image or zoom in on a zoom lens. Like, I didn't have any of those times. I didn't even have in this scenario, I didn't have another camera with me, okay? But a week ago, maybe even less than, no, I think it was about a week ago, I did, okay? I had, there was a moment where I was on the beach and I saw an eagle like fly down. I wasn't actually on the beach. I was standing behind a sign that said beaches closed because the beaches are closed here. It's so tragic, it's so sad, and so stupid. But anyways, I'm not opinionated or anything. I get it. They don't want tourists to come down and infect the locals and spread it and stuff like that. I get that. But how about they just let us locals go on the beach since we'd get vitamin D and all those things? Okay, and rant. I was sitting behind a beach is closed sign, and I saw an eagle swoop down and land on the sand. I'm like, oh my gosh, I've never seen an eagle on the beach. This is absolutely incredible. So I took a picture with my iPhone and I documented the history. I'm like, wow, this is amazing. And I'm like, gosh, I wish I had my big camera with me. And once again, my camera was actually at the office and at my house. We have one that we keep at the house and one we keep at the office. We have a lot at the office. I didn't have one with me driving, to and from the office. But I realized I remembered I had my drone in my car. So I took a picture of my iPhone and the picture sucked because the bird was really far away. Same thing as what happened to me this morning. But then I was like, well, I guess like I could see if the drone has some batteries and I could try to fly the drone over there and stay far away and not disturb the eagles, but try to get some better shots of this. Because, from my perspective where I was at the time, what was important, what was essential to telling that story was not all of the dunes in the foreground and a massive wide angle picture of the ocean and buildings in the background, which showed up in my snapshot. Those things weren't important. Okay, so what should we do? We should identify what's important. Well, it was the eagle, and then what happened is a second freaking eagle flew down and landed right next to the other one. I saw two eagles side by side. I was like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. Like unbelievable. I've never seen that happen. I've never seen eagles on the beaches because there's always people there, and eagles stay away from people. All right, but the beaches were vacant, so it's a blessing that the beaches. That's kind of a blessing in disguise that the beaches were closed. Okay, so I'm identifying. Okay, what is important for this? Well, it's important that the eagle. Like that we capture the eagle. Obviously, they're the subject. They're the focal point, right? They're the essential. They're the main storyline for the essential storytelling elements. Okay, and what else is important? Well, the white sand. That's really important because they're on the beach. And what else is important? I think the crystal clear water. So there's three things: eagles, white sand, crystal clear water. Okay. Are the dunes important? Nope. Are the buildings important? Nope. Is the trash on the beach important? Nope. Is the fence in the foreground important? Nope. Is the sign that says beach is closed important? Actually, that could tell an interesting story, but I think it'd be hard to have that sign with the eagles as little specks in the background. Okay. So I think what is important is that eagles are on the beach and it's beautiful. I think that's the essential story there. So what
the eagle has landed.
The eagle has landed. Yep. So what I did is I got my drone and I had very little battery, and I flew cautiously over to the eagles, and I tried to get some angles from up above and below that were showing. I'm wondering if I can actually just pull those pictures up. I'm wondering if I have them. I'm trying to think if I have them nearby, so I could show you guys. But I basically took the snapshot, immediately documented history, and then I got closer to my subject so that I could remove the distractions. That's the second part of step number 2. Okay, it's to remove the distractions. So it's identify what's essential and to kind of like hone in on it, and then the part B of that is to remove the distractions. So by removing the dunes, by removing the fences, and by removing the gates and the signs and the trash on the beach, all those things were not essential to my story. Okay, what was essential was the things that I've identified: the eagles themselves, the white sand, which is stunning, and the crystal clear water, which is stunning. Okay, and those are the things that are important. So how can you do that? How can you? It's kind of as you flex this muscle, as you develop this, this superpower of seeing like a photographer. The story starts becoming a little bit more apparent, especially as you practice. Like you start just taking a step back. Like so many people, when they're at a historic landmark, they just like take a picture. But what they're doing is maybe they're like touching in a historic landmark, instead of them like saying, okay, what's important here? Well, this Leaning Tower of Pisa is what's important, and we want to see it. So I don't want to be like right next to the wall, so that it just looks like there's a wall behind these people. No, you want to get further away from it, because what's important is that you are the subject, and the Leaning Tower of Pisa in the background is essentially the location. That's what's important. So you don't necessarily want all the other people. You don't necessarily want to be up close. You want to identify what's important, and then you might want to pull back so that you can see the person in front of the Leaning Tower of Pisa, so that you can tell the story of I was there. Okay, so there's different ways. Removing the distractions is not, and identifying what's important is not necessarily always zooming in like it was with my eagles. Okay, sometimes it's taking a step back so that you can show what is essential in the story. Okay, I have a photo of me in front of the Leaning Tower of Pisa. And instead of like it being up high at eye level, we changed the angle to get lower so that we could emphasize me standing up straight and the Leaning Tower leaning right next to me, how much it was actually leaning. And then you see me and the tower almost equal heights because of the angle. Okay, so trying to figure out how to remove the distractions can look a lot different than just zooming in. Okay, or getting closer with the drone to capture the eagles. Removing those distractions can be blocking people out. It can be changing your angle to lower or to the side or to the other side, or to go higher and then crop out some of the background because you're panning down a little teeny bit. Okay, so identifying what is important is so important, and then trying to hone in on those things, on those essential storytelling elements, and then focusing on how can we remove those distractions. Okay, there was some really bright orange trash on the beach. I think it was like an inner tube that was left on the beach when I was photographing these eagles. And what I realized is I didn't want that trash to be on there either. So I would change my angle just slightly And with a drone, I had lots of freedom to move around wherever I wanted to. And so I was able to get 2 eagles in the picture, crystal clear water, and white sand. Maybe I'll post that photo here soon. Okay.
I sent them to you in Slack real quick.
Oh, you did?
You could get
okay, cool. So
yeah.
if you guys are, I don't have Slack open at the moment. I have all my notifications turned off. Yeah, I'm like I didn't have those things. Yeah.
You're so Slack.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Show and finder. Okay. So if you guys are watching live, then you'll be able to see these images. Oh, these are really small. I kind of feel like I should find.
I know they were from Facebook from your buddy, but it was quick and I did it.
Okay. I know that I have it. Seaside. Sorry. Rich, you want to talk for a second while I find these pictures of the eagles?
Yeah, no. Let's fill dead air. I'm all about that. I like to bring things back around to like photography too. So like when you think of a wedding, there are a lot of moments, and I'm a wedding photographer at heart, and I have been for like 12 years, so I can't not think like that. Especially when I was supposed to have like 4 weddings this month, like already, and they haven't happened because of this, stupid coronavirus. But even in these moments where I have to think like a photographer at the wedding, and that's like super fun for the storytelling part of me, because shooting a lady on the beach in a white wedding dress 50 times a year can get really boring unless I start thinking. Every bride's different. Even if I have all the same vendors and it's the same wedding dress, because everybody's different, the story is going to be different, and therefore it's like fun for me to like get to experience that day with them, because it's cool. Like people don't think about this, and brides don't even think about this, but David, when I'm at a wedding, I'm spending more time with the bride than her mom. I'm spending more time with the bride than her husband. Like me and the bride are like hipped up all day together in this like storytelling dance we're doing. Like she's living her day and having all these great memories, and it's my job to capture. It's not my job to take good pictures. It's my job to capture the emotion of what's going on. And that's why seeing like a photographer is so important, because that's what I'm doing. Like these are moments that this girl's been thinking about since she was 4, or if you're taking pictures of your kids, like your kid, like time, the older you get and the older your kids get, the more you realize time just flies by. And you always say that and you always hear that from people, but after 5 more years, you just like agree with it more. So like when you take a picture of your kid playing on a swing set that seems like really trivial, that's like the only time your son was that age on that swing set. So like you're capturing these moments forever. So seeing like a photographer and getting the most out of those moments, whether it's with your iPhone or a real camera, is amazing. It's crucial. It's like learn to see like a photographer, because you're going to be able to capture these moments forever, because you know what you're doing. And that's why me and David do anything that we do. That's why I love working for David, because all he cares about is helping photographers, and you can't help a photographer more than teaching them how to see like a photographer. And that's something that people just don't talk about. They'll get technical and tell you the aperture or the depth of field or all these things, but what they're not doing is telling you the real nitty-gritty behind the curtain of why is his picture better than mine. And capturing that moment in time is the most important thing. So that's my Rich Coleman rant as David looks for pictures.
I got it for you. I was going to show like the original pic, Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. So
does Facebook dumb your pictures down too, David?
Do they dumb it down?
I found the
high res version. So here's an example of the 2 eagles, by the way. If you guys are watching it, live on Facebook, then you can see it. If you're watching the actual video, you can see this. But pretty astounding, pretty like special moment here, where I saw these 2 eagles, the white sand, and and the crystal clear water in the background. This was a moment where, the original one, let me see if I can I'll show you like my camera really quick. Here's my original one. Okay. See that bird right there? Like that was it. That little thing. That was like my snapshot that I got earlier today. Like that's it. And you compare that to this image right here of these eagles, and there's just no comparison to it, right? Because what I did is identified what's the essential part, and the essential storytelling elements, and I tried to remove all the other distractions. Okay, because what you're not seeing here is the stuff that's that's in the background. You're not seeing the fences. You're not seeing the trash that's on the beach. And the other thing I did in this situation was actually I did part 3, and I can show you a couple other pictures here in a second. But part 3, or the final step to telling powerful stories, is to edit out, or is to edit to recreate the emotion. Okay.
Yep.
It's to edit to recreate the same feeling that you felt while you were there experiencing the scene with your own eyes. Now, this image I didn't have to do a whole lot of editing to, but the one thing that I did do was just beneath this double eagle, right? This rare eagle rare. It's a good bourbon. Was actually a dead duck or something that they were eating, which is kind of gross.
Nice.
Okay. And I didn't think. And it was bloody and all this stuff. Like, I didn't think that was essential to telling this story. Okay. Like the birds were eating something on a beach and they felt free enough. But I think the real story is that, when there's no humans on the beach, then eagles will come back to play. I think that was the story. And, right beneath this eagle over here, that was actually spreading his wings, right beneath that eagle, like in this area right here, that was like where the dead carcass of a duck or something that they were eating was, and it was all bloody. So I actually edited to remove that stuff so that it wasn't distracting. Okay, it was another way that I could remove those distractions. In fact,
that's awesome. Was it eating quackers?
I don't think so. So here's another couple photos. Here's one where one of them was flying. Let me see. Can I zoom in
That's
here?
awesome. Can I be nerdy for a second, man?
Yeah.
Like, I'm just gonna let people know that, number one, too, a drone is almost like flying around with a new iPhone. Like, it is really cool and you can get some angles, but like you don't have the power that you do with a lens. Yeah. So, like, I will say, like, as a drone pilot myself, it is really cool, but
Hey, Rich. I think I lost you, brother. I don't know if you can hear me, but I think I lost you for a second. I'm gonna show some other shots really quick while we're trying to get Rich back. Here was the two birds when they're landed. Here's the two birds when they were landed, and here's one when it was just the one on the beach. One second here. And here was kind of like an overhead angle of the of the eagle. Hey, would you guys like to see? Would y'all like to see? Yeah, he's gone. Yeah, who knows? Maybe the internet on the island wasn't working very well, but that's okay. I'm going to show you really quick. I'm going to show you a video of the eagle flying, just because while we're on there, we can do that. Hey, we could edit this out of the audio version if we want. That's fine. But yeah, I want to show you guys a video real quick because it was just really stunning. Okay. All right, so I think I'm not muted anymore. So let me go back to, I'm gonna play this again, just because this first moment where the eagle is flying, like, look at that water. Oh, right there, look at that. Oh, I love it. Right there, look at it flying through. Look at that water. Oh, I love it. It's just like, this is just one of those moments where I'm so thankful that I was able to get a little bit closer, identify what's important, and really be able to, to hone in. So that eagle is soaring. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. So it's identifying what is the essential storytelling, elements, and, really honing in on those things. Okay, so we got Rich Coleman back. Hey, Rich.
I got mad. I just wanted to get off the phone with you, or get off.
Yep.
Corona killed my Wi-Fi.
Oh man. Yeah. So that's the third part. So let me go back real quick to those three parts of telling a powerful story. Number one is to immediately document the history, because you don't know if that moment is going to be fleeting and gone forever. Number two is actually kind of a two-part thing, and it's identify what is essential, one of the essential storytelling elements, and the second part to that. Part number two, maybe I should just break this up into 4 parts or 5 parts.
Yeah.
Hey, it's an informal training, like you're welcome for free training. All right. But anyways, the second part to that is to remove distractions. So you want to identify what's important, and you want to focus on that, and then remove distractions. Okay. And then the third part, third step, is to edit to recreate the emotion that you felt. And we're going to talk about that in, a coming episode of, how to edit to recreate that emotion. But, a quick example is if you see a carcass that's dead on the beach that the eagles are eating, maybe just edit that out, because it's not necessarily enhancing the experience or conveying the emotions that you want to convey. Boom sauce. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. I think it's time to give something away. Did our team randomly pick a winner yet?
They did.
Know. Okay, sweet.
Oh, I was trying to I almost switched to my phone. But we have a winner, and they're going to win this tripod right here.
Yep. And you're frozen again. Okay. So I will get the winner from the team real quick. Sorry, and then I'll just announce that. Okay, I got the winner. Winner, chicken dinner. Okay, so the winner of the tripod is, remember, the only criteria for winning this was to share this Facebook Live video if you're watching it live. And the winner is of the free tripod, the Oben tripod, which is amazing. I've got one right here. This maybe is a different size one. Maybe this is a bigger one, because his box looked a little smaller. But the winner of that is Alton Fields. Alton Fields. I'm gonna post that in here. So hopefully, there we go. Winner, Alton Fields. Congrats, you've won the free tripod. We will mail that to you. Email doesn't work for this. So we'll have to actually mail it to you. But yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Y'all are amazing. Hope y'all enjoyed this. Next week, we're going to talk about how to shoot like a photographer. We talked about how to see today. And I hope you guys are, staying busy, staying productive. And if you have not checked it out, please go check out thephotomentorship.com. That's where we allow our students to get unlimited access to stream all of our courses, and ask our mentors, including me and Rich, unlimited questions. And that includes photo critiques and giving you advice on future shoots and what settings you could have done, or and all those different things. And tomorrow we'll be diving into week 2 of the editing boot camp. So we're going deep into editing, and because we're streaming that stuff live, we can actually do a lot more visual training than just the audio version, which is this podcast. So you guys are amazing. Thank you all so much for everything. Congrats, Alton Fields, on winning the tripod. And hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode on how to see. I'm David Molnar, your photography mentor. Have a fantastic week. I'll see you tomorrow inside the Photo Mentorship if you are a member. We'll see you soon. Bye.
Please subscribe on iTunes or Spotify so you never miss out on news and events. Give us a rating on iTunes, or simply tell a friend about us. It helps us get the word out so we can help more people reach their photography goals.